This was a consistent view of Bradman, who despite well-known personal differences, had the utmost regard for Bill "Tiger" O'Reilly, the peerless leg spinner of his era. The mythologizing of Bradman began from the time he conquered England as a 21-year-old prodigy in 1930. And it never ceased. If anything, it intensified with every passing summer. As has been reinforced in recent days, the mythologizing of Warne began in 1993 with the so-called Ball of the Century, which so mesmerized England's Mike Gatting. And one suspects this too will intensify as the nation again pauses to mourn another legend of the game and wonder if the void can ever be filled. Mike Gatting stands in disbelief after falling victim to Shane Warne's Ball of the Century in 1993. Pop a photo. Bradman became our Don Bradman in the snappy foxtrot song of the 1930s, and he remains so. Now we mourn our Shane Warne, such is the pride and possessiveness of this sporting nation. And for all the great Australian cricketers who have followed Bradman, it can be argued that none has been greater than Warne, the consummate bowler and showman. Their portraits hang in long rooms, committee rooms and museums from Lord's to Melbourne, and each has at least one statue strategically and sentimentally placed. Bradman has grandstands named in his honour at the Sydney Cricket Ground and Adelaide Oval, and Warne's name will now adorn the massive Great Southern Stand at the Melbourne Cricket Ground he so loved. Loading many books have been written and films and television documentaries made of their extraordinary lives in the public gaze. Incomparable musician Paul Kelly, for one, has written and sung about them both, and Eddie Perfect's Shane Warne, the musical, was a stunning addition to the musical theatre canon. While they were disparate personalities, Warne and Bradman were progressive and expansive thinkers and educators on the game and embraced their exalted place in the game's rich history. As Bradman wrote in Farewell to Cricket 72 years ago, figures are not entirely conclusive, especially short-term figures. But it is difficult to avoid their significance if a man produces them year after year against every type of opponent and under all conceivable conditions. Both men had exceptional self-confidence, but Warne did not have Bradman's obsessive self-discipline, and this cost him dearly and cruelled his chances of being an Australian Test match captain. Bradman, on the other hand, was celebrated as the country's 21st captain, and his leadership culminated with the heroic 1948 Invincibles. In his pomp, Bradman provided inspiration and distraction for people racked by the pain of economic decay, unemployment and war. That he represented perfection in a tragically imperfect world ensured his unique place in history. That Warne's adulation was comparable to that which evoked so many mixed emotions within Bradman was testimony to his charismatic personality, as much as his ability to revive the arcane art of leg spin bowling and take it to another realm. Don Bradman, left, leads Australia onto the field for their tour match with Worcestershire during the Invincibles tour in 1948. Archive. No one, not even Bradman, escaped adulation unmarked, and he confronted crises in his private and business life with dignity and stoicism. Warne was more reactive and combative and generally philosophical about the curse of publicity, as Bradman termed it. After all, Warne was the consummate cricket professional, a term, when used in reference to Bradman, brought a quick and stern rebuke from our Don, an avowed amateur. While Bradman was not ungrateful for the veneration, he often found it suffocating and intrusive and loathed being seen as a saintly figure. Hence, he guarded his privacy more fiercely with every passing year, and was contentedly reclusive for much of the last 20 years of his life. Conversely, Warne continued to give himself wholeheartedly to the people, his people. And they openly loved him for it and generally pardoned the indulgences and excesses unlikely to be forgiven and forgotten elsewhere. Loading, both men unself-consciously acknowledged their dependence on the love and support of family. Bradman's rock was Lady Jessie, Warne's his 3 children. While he deeply regretted the breakdown of his marriage, Warne was widely acknowledged as an exceptional father to Brooke, Jackson, and Summer, and the cricket family will wrap their arms around them. Bradman's joy in grandchildren Greta, Tom and Nicholas knew no bounds and provided some solace for the sadness met so stoically early in his marriage. After losing an infant son, son John was struck down by poliomyelitis as a young teenager, and his sister Shirley was born with cerebral palsy.